Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Good Morning Soul, another edition of the Love, Death, and Robots episodic anthology review series I'm doing where I look at all 18 short films within Love, Death, and Robots. Today we're looking at the fourth episode in this series, which is titled Suits. And I believe this is tied for the longest of the bunch. There's a couple like 10-minute ones, and then there's like a couple that are like 17 minutes, and this one is one of those, and it was a good one. I really like this one. It was about a group of farmers who live in some kind of like quiet place universe where there's these monsters that are very much just kind of like your generic like grim meets any kind of monster in that shape. That's like your standard monster design at this point. And so these farmers are living in this world, but they have mecha suits. There was one scene that kind of perfectly put this universe into perspective for me, and it was when the farmer, his wife, they were all just kind of hanging out in the kitchen, and there was just this gigantic fucking computer sitting off to the side. This giant computer that it was like old farmy country meets sci-fi in kind of like an aesthetic that doesn't look too like natural, but I will say that the animation for this one was very cool. It had that kind of like a very video gamey aesthetic, like very boxy, and a lot of like it's 3D animated, of course. A lot of the stuff, like, because once they get in these mecha suits, they basically have this like ambush. They get attacked from like the biggest herd of fucking monsters you could ever expect, and it's basically these three like local farmers who kind of even like chide each other towards the beginning of the film, and each of them, like, their mecha specializes in different things. Like, one's just kind of like your main gunner guy. There's like this really cool badass redneck lady with explosives who doesn't give a fuck, and there's kind of the more main character-y guy who has just like laser beams coming out of his. And you know, it actually gets pretty emotional for everything going on. Basically the only setups to like these characters and why you should care are that they're farmers and that they all have a pretty intricate family and friendship dynamic that kind of just naturally comes off of one another. For instance, like, you see the farmers, their like wives and significant others kind of just naturally like know each other, and naturally like when they're communicating you kind of get to feel, okay, this is like what they do. They have like these mecha coordination schemes, and yeah, it was just a fun movie. I don't think because at the end of the film, I don't know why I'm bothering avoiding spoilers. Yeah, one of the guys sacrifices himself, and it's like this huge explosion, just huge, and you really get the feel that they're like invading this farm. It feels naturally like when you're playing like a video game and there's hordes of enemies and you try and not get them past you, and that kind of anxiety when there's like a bunch of them just kind of all around, so you're shooting in both directions at one point, and you do see like there's like this last line of defense with turrets, and one of them gets through, and it's very, very climactic, and again the one guy gives himself up, and this eventually leads to the whole town or whatever being safe. But then we kind of pan out and we get a view of the entire planet, and we realize that there are like these domes on top of the planet that are just these farms, and it's like force fields that are holding back like this actual world, which is just monster infested, which is like a great setup. Like, if this was a pilot, which I kind of feel like it could have been for an animated show, it would have been great. And there's, you know, Western animation, like, there's a lot of comedies, there's a lot of, you know, Cartoon Network shows, and there is adult animation, but a lot of it just isn't action oriented. So I would love a TV show like this. So I think that's all I have to say about it. It was a unique enough show, but there wasn't like a whole lot of substance compared to some of the other ones on here. I'm still gonna give it a good rating of 7 out of 10 because I did care for the characters, the animation style worked for me, and I love the concept. So that is it for this one. Thank you for watching, and until next time with that, I leave you.